my most rich, touching, godly moments with the Lord was around other people. As I've just grown in faith, that has flipped for me over the years, where the most deep, intimate times with God are alone.
It's really important for those of us that are creative to find pockets where the creativity doesn't have to be utilitarian. It doesn't have to serve a purpose, a functional purpose, that its purpose can just be union with Jesus.
I did not learn that as a kid. I learned to perform in front of people.
Right.
I did not learn to spend time with God. But the thing is, when I really embraced it, what people were watching on platforms, they were like, man, where you getting all this from? It's like, I've been with God. What up, people? I'm Michael Bethany. This is the Life in the Wild podcast, and I am here in my city with all of my friends. Well, not all of them, but a handful of them.
Be honest now. Be honest.
A good bunch of them. I got a lot of friends. I ain't gonna lie. I've got a lot of friends, and we're gonna talk about friends on this podcast, but this podcast is gonna be crazy because we're gonna get into some good stuff. If you are a worship leader, recording artist, songwriter, producer, you are represented in this room. And we do, I think we got folks who do stuff for, what do you do for the, what do you do back there, dude? You got producers over here, string scoring guys, this guy right here, gospel recording artist over here, all these writers and worship leaders, worship pastors, everybody in the room. And I'm gonna tell you this, everybody in this room can sing for real, like, no, except for him. He can't sing.
You put him on blast.
No, he can't sing. This is what everybody. Hey.
Except him.
What do you do? The thing is, when you play the piano as well as this guy does, you don't need
Yeah, you can sing.
Yeah, you don't need to sing because you would shut everybody down. So this is Life in the Wild podcast, and this is going to be a very creative and fun, exciting time with my friends. But I want you guys to do me a favor before we get into the mix. Would you like and subscribe to this channel? I want you guys to help me just be team Life in the Wild podcast with me for a minute, because I can only share this as quickly as we come together and share it together. Like, you guys are helping me get the word out. And I believe, like, as I've come along in my journey over the years, you know, as a creative person, I didn't always have a good understanding about who I was and how to live it, how to do it. Yeah. And just you subscribing and liking and pushing this to somebody can really liberate somebody. I mean, to see themselves represented on a couch, on a stool in this conversation could be life-changing. And we're going to talk about how our lives have changed and progressed through all the different seasons of our lives as songwriters, creatives, artists, and all that stuff. And then the intersection between artistry and church and, you know, all the creative things and serving. And let me just start out right now, just going around the room. Just shout your name. I got over here.
My name is Ethan Kent.
Ethan Kent. Shout it out back there. Rico.
Nikki Molt.
I got Nikki Moat in the house.
Crystal Yates. I'm Megan Thurman.
LA. His name is a whole city.
Caleb Willis.
Caleb.
Michelle Wilkins.
So all these wonderful people. Give it up for my people. Give it up for my people. You can't see it. My wife is over there hiding. She's over there. And I just realized my hands and arms are naked. I ain't got no jewelry on, my ring, nothing. I've just been busy. I haven't jeweled myself. I don't got no cologne on. I'm just out here. So today, we have spent this entire day writing music. And we're going to start in this space because we had to be really intentional about doing this. Everybody in this room was really busy. And I think this is kind of where we start. As creative people, we all end up in our own bubbles, kind of doing our own thing, surviving. Now, I say that for real. Like, have you ever feel like sometimes you're in your space and you're just making it through? And it's not that it's bad, but sometimes it's challenging. And one of the challenging aspects of being a creative in your bubble is the isolation of not being connected to people who are doing what you're doing. Because typically, if you're an artist, a worship leader, especially in the local church space, you're the probably only one in your space leading at that level, and you're helping everyone else to grow and get better. And then there's nobody necessarily there specifically to help you in that way. And it's just by nature of how it goes. If you're the main worship leader, the main musician, you're probably the most talented, gifted person in that space, which is why the church wants you to do it. But you have to work a little bit harder to get into spaces where you can sharpen yourself and not just kind of drift off into like, just kind of being in isolation. So I'm just throwing that out here as a launching point of how intentional we had to be in this room, and even some of that rub of what we might experience. Now, let me just say this, because we have never done this podcast together. So I want y'all to see me encouraging my friends, not to clam up on me.
We're nervous, Mike. We're nervous.
Now, listen, I don't want to stop it. Listen, this is what I don't want. The Lord has really been dealing with my heart. And I don't feel isolated because I'm with the Lord and I am with my pastor. And we never leave. I'm not even here right now. I'm actually still with. I'm just saying, like, some of the reality of what it's like to be a creative in your space, especially, and when I say creative, I mean musically, artistically, where your expression kind of runs a little counter to what administrative gifted people do. Oh, see this face right there.
Administrative bone in my body.
So I mean, I feel you. So let's kind of lean into that. Like you still got to do the job. You still have to lead worship. You still have to do it. So at the end of the day, we end up in those spaces sometimes where you're forced to be something by nature of what you're asked to do that you're not naturally gifted at doing. Why y'all passing the mic? Y'all looking like that's you started it.
Okay. Take it. Well, thank you.
And Crystal, I don't know why you acted brand new. You've been on this podcast, and we've actually talked about this very subject.
We have. So yeah, I would just say I'm not an administrative person. I'm seriously very creative. I'm not a morning person. I'm a 2:00 in the morning person, and so doing the 9 to 5 is really difficult for me. But I've just learned that that's where God probably does the most growth in my life. I love, new things, and I love starting new things, but being consistent is my challenge. And I believe God has called me into this field, not just so I can use like the things that I feel comfortable with, but the things that I feel uncomfortable with is what has helped me probably grow the most as a person, because those people, that you're serving, God's called you to serve them, and it's difficult and a challenge to be consistently there for a bunch of people. Like, it's not like just one or two. My husband and I are both worship pastors, and we serve a pretty good sized team, and being consistent there for them has become probably the thing that has become the most important to me, is just showing up consistently for them and serving them. So
as a really, let's talk about, is there a rub, Ethan, between you being artistic in what you do and your own personal expression, and even your desires for doing what you do, and then trying to compartmentalize that to some degree so that you can show up to be consistent, to kind of step into a church role, leadership role, or whatever, and fulfill this task? And does it feel like there's dissonance between those two roles?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of tension between it. I know for me, songwriting is something that gives me life. It like awakens joy, whereas like organizing PCO doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but that's got to be done. And when you're serving churches and teams, and everybody's got to be in place and know what the plan is, what the schedules are. And so there's things you just got to do to get the work done. But you also have to make time and be intentional, like you said, to be around people that can speak into you, speak life, and awaken the joy of creativity, songwriting, doing things like that to lighten the load and just give you the motivation that you need to do the busy work. So I feel like you just got to be intentional with pace, with rhythm, and balancing that out. it's really not balance. It's really rhythm.
Hey guys, if you're watching this, I want you to know about my live recording March 14th and the very next day, my very first Overflow Experience Conference on the 15th. I'm going to have my friend Isaiah Templeton there from Elevation Worship, Marianne George, you've seen her with Maverick City. I'm going to have my homeboy DeJuan Hill there with me. You've seen his incredible content with the choir room. I'm going to have a live recording open to the public. I want everyone to show up. It's going to be an incredible night of brand new music, and the Holy Spirit's gonna literally fill the room, no pun intended. Then day 2, I want you to register for the Overflow Experience Conference. This is a conference for creatives to help you get from where you are to where God's called you to be, to turn your potential into reality. For singers, artists, influencers, even people who do content, videography, the folks that are helping me are gonna be there to help you. So I don't want you guys to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. And then my brother, Chris Durso, is gonna pull up Friday night and stay Saturday to pour into you in a special episode of Life in the Wild, and to just speak a word of impartation that's really going to have an impact on your life. Not only that, I've got a new book, Life in the Wild. It's not just a podcast. This is my life story laid out as a roadmap for you to take your next steps in your purpose and destiny for God's best in your life. The 14th, live recording. The 15th, Overflow Experience Conference, the very first. It's going to be incredible. All you have to do is go to overflowexperience.com to register for both events. The free live recording and then registration for the Overflow Experience Conference Day 2. I'm going to be there. My friends are going to be there. You got to be there. Did you guys connect before? Like, have y'all always known each other?
We've been friends for,
It's been like 2 years now, right?
yeah. I don't know. I don't remember who I was telling, but at this season in my life, I'm leading worship at churches. But I don't remember who I was telling tonight this, but I was using Ethan as an example of, I didn't lead at his church with him first. We wrote together.
Yeah.
And we became friends. Oh, it's Caleb. And we became friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I really like him. He is an awesome person. He's funny. He is like a great writer. And then we wrote again. And we became friends and we formed that relationship. And then he was like, hey,
It's like, come to my church.
come lead with me. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'd be happy to, but because we're friends and it's so much better to lead worship with your friends, because listen, this is not rocket science
That's right.
here. We're
Yeah.
not literally doing brain surgery. We're leading people in worship, and there is a spiritual weight to that. But also, we can have fun while doing it. Crystal and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
And getting to do that with your friends, you're so much more willing to say, no, you take this moment. You take this moment. Run with it. There's like a humility and a unity there when you're leading with your friends, because you're just like, I love you so much, and I want you, Nikki, to get to have that moment and let the Lord use you. And so you just are so much more willing to defer to one another in their leadership.
good.
Anyway, yeah, Ethan is so good at
Thank you,
both
Megan.
molding together.
Megan's a blessing.
No, you are.
You're a huge blessing, Megan.
Of putting together, well, you know I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Of putting together both like the administrative and orchestrating of people with the creative part of making something beautiful and good and continuing to produce like the output of beautiful creative things. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you.
You're good at that too.
All glory to God.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Ethan was sharing about when the busy work becomes draining. What can be really challenging for those of us that serve in ministry full-time or even just on Sundays and jump onto teams is when the spiritual work is what becomes busy work, right? Or when the one time I'm opening the word is just to think about accomplishing my call to worship for Sunday morning.
Just to pick your set list.
Or it's to pick my set list, or it's the pastor said he's teaching on this, so I got to find these 3 songs. Or if the only time I'm sitting down at the keys is when I'm rehearsing the intro for our second song, or how do I change from this key to this key, right? These are tactical things that need to be done, but we can't act. It's fool's gold to say that that's a replacement for spiritual unity with Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
Or like pursuing that relationship with Jesus. So for me, it's finding what is that outlet. Ethan, you mentioned songwriting for you, that's just life-giving.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the case for you, but for me, that's not a part of my job description. Songwriting is not. And that's where I found so much freedom.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Yeah.
I know I'm not accomplishing a task
Right.
that's being checked off in my weekly to-do list. This has nothing to do with Planning Center.
Yeah.
Some people may never hear these songs, but they're intimate moments with Jesus. Or it's me sitting down at the keys and there's no agenda. I just pick a key and I start playing. And those are some of the most refreshing and intimate moments with Jesus because it can't accomplish anything other than be with Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's like the beauty of those moments. There's like a sacred, almost primal feeling to that of like there's nothing additive here. It's just me and Jesus. And it's really important for those of us that are creative that get to flex the creative muscles to find pockets where the creativity doesn't have to be utilitarian. It doesn't have to serve a purpose, a functional purpose, that its purpose can just be union with Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice in the presence.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's big.
My mom used to say, you can't lead people to a place you ain't never going yourself. So that's strong, man.
I think for all of us, what you said is so important. Like, what is our private, personal intimacy with God like? And I feel like, it used to be that my most rich, touching, godly moments with the Lord was around other people. It was like there was a service, or when I would go to, a worship night or something like that. And as I've just grown in faith, that has flipped for me over the years, where the deepest, most intimate times with God are no longer around anyone, not even my wife or anybody. The most deep, intimate times with God are alone. But that could sound intimidating.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a skill, but intimacy is something that gets better with practice.
That's good.
And what we do on the platform, we do it so well because you have hours and hours of practice. And then when you go into that private closet, that prayer room, and that you almost feel like you don't know what you're doing. It's like this, and it's not because it's just awkward. It's because you don't do it enough. Mm. And that's not even to make you feel bad. It actually should bring hope. Like, oh, I'm going to get better at this. Like, one of the stories I tell often is the season where the Lord told me, I want you to go to this prayer room every single day from noon to 1 every day. Like, with just don't even think about stopping. There's no lunch for you, no lunch breaks for now on out. And so I had to learn to show up every day and meet with God with no agenda. And what I found is I got comfortable in his presence. And I think what I want to say is to us, we can talk about this, like getting so used to being alone with God until it's no longer awkward. Until the silent moments are still just as sweet as the moments that you feel like you have a lot to say. Because intimacy is not conversation, it's presence. It's his presence with me and my presence with him. And sometimes he's saying things with me, and sometimes it's just knowing that I'm near him. And I'm not saying that physically, I'm consciously, mentally, emotionally with him, and it takes practice. But we have to be honest, I did not learn that as a kid. I learned to perform in front of people.
Right.
I did not learn to spend time with God. It took me a long time to learn to do that. But the thing is, when I really embraced it, what people were watching on platforms, they were like, man, where you getting all this from? It's like, I've been with God. I'm not running out of content. I'm not running out of ad libs. Yeah. I get exhortations for days. I'm not writing things down.
A lot of things to say now.
You know what I'm saying?
One rule, right?
Because I'm full.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it gets easier, And I want to encourage you guys, if you're watching this, man, intimacy takes practice. So every time you go into whatever your space is, I want to say this, choose a time, choose a place. Now, I'm not saying you can't pray all the time anywhere you want, but man, choosing a time and a place where God can expect to see you. That's good. Oh no. And then the last thing is set a rhythm. If you set a rhythm with God and you stay faithful to say, I don't care what else goes on, God, I'm going to come here to meet with you. And you start to see how psychologically, how mentally your brain starts to dial in. And it gets to a place where you walk into that space and everything in your body, your whole your physical, every being, all of it knows I'm in the prayer room, and praying gets easier in that place because there's practice in that place.
Yeah.
But then the overflow out of that place spills over into everything else. All right.
It's good, man.
I mean, that's good. I mean, and as I'm talking, because I could go, because this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I want to encourage y'all, if you have a question for me, just throw it back at me. I don't want to be a news reporter, or just on panel leading a discussion. But you guys direct it back at me. I want to go back to something you were talking about. So Caleb, we met. So let me just give context why we're all in this room together. So, my wife and I, we started talking about doing this songwriting thing, and it was something that was brewing for maybe a year that I didn't do anything with, and then maybe around April or so, I just got filled with this fire to be with people and to write, and then me in LA, right there, we talked and we partnered. And start calling people. And then I called Crystal, and we just started reaching out to people to show up in this house and write. I called Ethan, which was what a call to make.
Man.
What a call to make, because Ethan came in here and turns it out. First of all, he comes in here with the 2-piece set, but then we fired. And he got all these dope outfits, and you can't sleep on the shoes. You can't see them, but the 2-piece on the top, that's always a very strategic shoe to go with it.
It's the story of the day.
It
bro.
is. Every time
So
he comes
funny.
in,
He delivers on every level.
every
God.
time.
He brings the alpha and the omega.
Oh my gosh.
Great is his faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness.
All glory to Jesus.
So with some calls, we set up a songwrite for 2 days in June. We came here and we wrote. And when we first got here, we were like, even me and Nikki, we have been leading together at Covenant for a while, but we had really never hung out. No. So it's like, hey,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for yes. And you know what? To be honest, so I invite all these people to come, and I just be honest. Inside, I'm like, I don't know if they're really gonna come. I don't even know if anybody wants to do something with me for real. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. People are like, I'm busy. I've got other things to do. Or can you actually? And then we rented a house way out in the middle of nowhere. So everyone's got to drive. Like, this is like over an hour from my.
Talk about this entrance to this house, because I miss it every time.
So this is how intentional we were, and I think there's some jewels and some gold to this. So we wanted to find a place where we can gather and hang out and write music. So we went through all this trouble. LA was trying to book a house on Airbnb. I think he put his picture on there and someone didn't like him. Like, he looked, LA is like 6, what are you? 6'4"? He put his mean mugging picture on the Airbnb profile. He was like, so they were like,
no, thank
they were
you.
like, nah.
We'll
But he was
pass.
like, I want to write songs for Jesus. It's like, we don't believe. You got a smile on your profile. I don't know what happened. And so we kept going around, and eventually I had my wife start talking and calling like, hey, this is Siobhan. Siobhan's a sweet name. She sounds like a sweet person. So she tricked them to let us have this house. And so the house, you can't see it from the road. So
It gets you every time.
I passed the house twice. Everybody who comes over here has passed this house because it's totally hidden in the trees. So if I told you,
Calling Crystal, where is this house?
The driveway looks like a part of the sidewalk, so it looks like
yes, you can't see the driveway.
it's like the phone is saying turn in 0 feet. But
And that's
I'm
for
like,
sure why we were all 90 minutes late. That's
right, 'cause you were driving
we
past-
just missed the turn once and had to.
Which we gonna get to
Yeah,
everybody
that's right,
everybody
that's
being
right.
late. We try to do something with creatives.
Oh,
That's another podcast, bro.
On time.
That's another episode.
You
Different
gotta
episode.
See all the okay.
It
So
starts at 11, but the call time
I
is
know the
8.
call time is 7 a.m. Guys.
I can get there by 10.
So listen. So we all made our way out here, and it was, in one sense, we came out here to just be creative. And the burden on my heart was like, I want to go to a place that's not a church.
That's good.
I want to find a place, invest in a place that is not work, like you said, Caleb. I want us to feel like we're at home. I want us to feel like we are hanging out with our friends and not our coworkers. And I wanted us to feel like we're not on someone else's territory. We're all like on neutral ground. Yeah. None of us have ever been to this house. Well, now we have a couple times. But you know what I mean? Like, this is totally neutral for us. And I don't think any of us live on this part of town. Like, none of us live out here. No. So I want to ask you guys, with the intentionality of what it took for us to come out here, write songs. We just recorded. We start like we're recording these songs. It's like we're just having a creative time. And we're recording one in the Covenant Church already. Me and Ethan already started recording one. Everybody can talk to Jesus. Fire. And it's just taking off. We wrote more songs today. But I want to ask you guys, and y'all can pitch it back to me, but what has it meant for you coming into a room, connecting with people that you would never have been connected with otherwise, if it hadn't been for this kind of thing? And I want to start with Nikki, because she got a mic close to her. Nikki.
It has been so nice. I feel like I've been kind of siloed at my own church because we had a full staff of writers. And so I haven't done a ton of collaborating with a lot of people because I always just had my own group. And so coming here and meeting, like, I met Crystal and Megan like 2 months ago. I feel like I've been friends with them for 5 years. Wow. And so it's just all these instant friends. I've felt so connected to everybody. And there's something so sweet about the fact that we are local DFW people. Yeah. Like, our churches are all just down the street from each other. And it just gives this sense of camaraderie and an excitement that, you know, we can come together and write these songs for our local churches, and our area can begin to sing the same things, you know? And so I think there could be something prophetic about that. But the connection has been amazing for me. I've entered into a new season of leadership and discovered how lonely leadership is.
Talk about it.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to take care of that as soon as possible, because I think that's a really dangerous position to just be like, well, I'm just isolated now, and that's how it is. And so,
can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because what you just dropped a bomb in the room.
Oops.
That needs to be discussed, like feeling alone. Now, I want to say this because we love our local churches. This is not a slight against any church.
Right.
If you ask senior pastors, they'll tell you the same thing.
That's right.
Because once you kind of get into that role, the weight of the responsibility is heavy, right? And you can't abdicate. There's no one to pass it off to. And when you take on that role, you are the person. It's like being a parent. My father would say, it's always my turn. It's like when you take on that role of leadership, it's your turn to lead this week, and next week is still your turn.
Right. And the Sundays keep coming.
And the Sundays keep coming.
They don't stop.
And the conferences keep coming.
That's right.
Easter keeps coming. And whatever, if you've had a success one year, you got to come up with something else.
That's right.
So it never stops. But here's what I like what you said. Just because it can be isolating and even sometimes lonely in some ways, not that you're alone, it doesn't mean that you settle in that.
Right.
You have to fight.
Yes.
To get connected.
Yeah.
In some unique ways. in your church and even also with other people who are doing the exact kind of thing that you're doing, which is right in here.
It's really, it's been a huge blessing. Like, we've already been together like 3 or 4 times in 2 months.
I was like, we're going to be friends. I know it. When I saw Nikki, I told Chris, I was like, we're going to be friends. I just knew it. And I was telling you this earlier today. Friendships matter so much in what we're doing and why we're doing it.
We need to hear you.
We got to hear you.
LA
We
is
got to hear you.
one of my best friends. Anyway, but to see like one of my best friends meet my other friend and then their friends now, it's just like, this is the best.
Yes.
This is how it's supposed to be. And so then when I saw Nikki, I'm like, we're going to be friends. I know we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've known her for years, like years and years. And I have known her for literally years. And I love her with my whole heart.
Y'all over there looking like y'all been knowing each other for a long
We
time.
are the squirrels that you need to manage.
I have been trying to manage the squirrels all day.
I am cripplingly ADHD. I'm not even joking.
So, I mean, okay, so anybody else want to talk to that whole isolated, lonely feeling of LA? And this is the whole thing. I hope this is liberating, because this is kind of a thing that could be intimidating to say.
Yeah.
But I want to break that off of us so that we can really bond and then liberate some folks watching. So,
yeah, I'll say lonely is a part of it, but also just busy. You just get busy with local church. You don't realize how busy you are until you actually take a moment and take a breath. And I know that's been that for me. Literally, Nikki and Caleb here, our church is a car drive 4 minutes. I mean, I can walk out my church and I can see his church and go around the corner and see her church. Yeah, you can walk there. But the reality is, here, 35, 40 minutes away from our area, are we connected? Are we riding? Are we sharing meals together? Are we just having this kind of level of community? And I think that's just a testament to busyness in local church and just kind of the being in the day-to-day, go, And so I think it's important to make time to do stuff like this, but also invest into your tribe outside your local church as well. Because I'll say this, I mean, I moved here 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. And from my local church, I couldn't tell you how many people I talked to from that local church, because just life keeps going on. The next worship pastor in, life goes on. It's great. They're praising God. Awesome. But it's just very important, because I know outside also of local church, these relationships go beyond, because we do a lot of the same things. We understand each other, I think, even in a different way than most congregations do. And so Crystal and Megan, I mean, we've been rolling together for years, and we don't cross paths a whole lot in our local churches, but outside of it, there's just this intentionality to get together, and it's just some of the most life-giving times that I know my family has, and so I'm grateful.
So if you notice the different shades of brown, because we're all like on a spectrum of brown. Now listen.
We've been challenging Crystal all day today. You see her like that.
Okay, so listen. So we this couch right here is y'all tan.
This is fake.
What? I don't know.
Funny.
I mean,
like
really.
honey roasted.
You what are you, honey roasted?
Yeah, brown sugar.
You brown sugar?
Oh, God bless
I'm
me.
beige.
God bless me.
I'm beige.
I feel like I'm glow in the dark.
You.
My God.
So here's a little corner we're gonna turn about what creativity does for unity. Especially if you grew up if you're growing up or you grew up like me, the only people in my church were black. There was no racial diversity in my church. And there was no racial diversity in the neighborhood where my church was. So it wasn't like, we didn't want to be around anybody else. It was just like, there's nobody down here but us. It's just us. So, and we're trying to get us to come to church. I mean, like, we don't even want to be in church with us. Like, just like, so, it was one of those things. But, of course, I kind of moved into some different spaces. One of the things I found with this group in particular, we talked about this in June when we were together, like, okay, let me throw it like this. When it comes to like worship spaces and music, it quickly selects out for the racial experience quickly. And it gets really segregated. One of the things I loved about this, it's like when you meet creative people, they don't think that way. Right? By and large, just don't think that way. And I think the way I prove it is turn on your Sirius XM or however you listen to music and just listen to music that's not Christian. And think about concerts. You're like, whoever the artist is, I'm not going to name nobody because there's a lot of folks in the news right now. And Jesus. I don't want to say, they're like, Michael listens to, nope. I'm not calling no names. Yeah. I'm not calling no names.
Not going to get canceled on the first podcast.
I'm not getting canceled on here. Because I loves the Lord, okay? I loves him. But if you listen to music that's not strictly Christian music, pop or whatever, it's super eclectic. Even the sounds in certain songs, whether it's country or R&B or pop or whatever, it's just all mixed up. You can't really separate one ethnic influence from another. And there are definitely some things on different sides of the spectrum, but in the middle, you can see a little white kid listen to a rap song, and he's bobbing. You see a black kid listening to a pop song, and it's just like you can't, because creativity really naturally brings unity together. The beauty of those colors and those sounds, it's hard to separate them, and I believe this is kind of like the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light. Because they don't care. Yeah. Yeah. The children of darkness are wiser than the children of light.
Why is it like that? It shouldn't be that way.
I think you and I were having this conversation. Here's what I think. This is gonna be tough. As much as I think it's a subtle trick of the enemy. Because I don't think I'm doing something wrong. Because I'm worshiping God. But I don't let anything else in. But because I'm doing something spiritual, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with that. I also don't see the byproduct of what I've done within my Christian space, curating my music to be as monolithic as possible. I've taken all the expression, mixture, and joy out, not just from other people around me, but from me. I don't even get to enjoy all the different colors and sounds that God creates and makes through people who don't look like me. And I believe, who would want us to be separated? Who would want that to be something that's permanent? Who enjoys that? How good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity and the blessing God, right, commands on that. Who would want that not to be so? And you take the one thing that everyone's going to listen to and sing along with, even in Target. You don't even have to know the song is playing. You subconsciously hear it and start singing. Something as powerful as music, but then make it so separated that it's not even powerful enough to do what it naturally does on its own. Okay, Caleb.
Yeah, no, dude, what I was going to add to that, you see the picture of Revelation. We wrote a throne room song earlier today, but it's every tribe, nation, and tongue. If that's going to be what's true of eternity, why do we choose to not reflect that currently? Like, why would we decide to intentionally wait? If we know this is what's going to be true of eternity, why would we ever try and say we don't want to reflect that now? But to your point about creatives not necessarily seeing that as much of a burden or maybe like a hurdle to jump over or to get through, creativity naturally should be breaking barriers. That's the goal of what we do. When we sit down to songwrite, we're not creating new theology. Like, we're not creating a new Jesus. We certainly should not be doing that. But we are trying to communicate the same gospel truth in a fresh and an innovative way. And so naturally, our creativity, the outflow of that, should look unique. It should look new. It should be breaking barriers and pushing. And so I think that's why it's a more natural thing for us. But when you think about like Romans 15, verses 5 and 6, may the God who gives endurance and encouragement, two things that we always need at all times, grant you to be of the same mind, so that with one voice you may bring glory to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. We've already been promised the mind of Christ. Like Paul tells us that we've been given the mind of Christ. And it's not just so that you can have the mind. It's so that with one voice, one collective voice, you may bring glory to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. So the vision of worship should be unifying in every way. And so I think for us as leaders in those spaces, it's a challenge. I joked with all y'all earlier today about I put the two gospel chords I know
And you were
in one of my
killing it.
licks today. That's a joke, but it
worked.
I know that I grew up in a church that was an all-white church that played nothing but CCM worship, and like that's all we did. And so for me, I know a growing opportunity is to learn some gospel keys playing.
Let me ask you a question, because when I hear you sing, you don't sound like that's right. So like, because I honestly like, and this is exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Creatively, even though in church, your set list may have been curated based on the culture dynamics of what that church is doing, but personally,
you was listening
know
to
you
some
were listening to
stuff
something else.
Definitely.
Don't call no names. I know you don't want to list your playlist.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get canceled either on your.
Yeah, your pastor watching this, he's gonna be like,
Michael
I love
Jackson.
the Lord too.
You've been watching Michael. They don't mind if it's Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
The Temptations, that's fine. That's safe. They're fine with that. But I'm just saying, I can hear
Frankie Beverly.
I can hear it in your voice when you sing that you are not just. And that's, I think, here's a lie. That just because you are a skin color means you have to sound a certain way.
that's right.
I mean, even like sometimes some of the things that I do, sometimes people assume, like, why are you doing that? You know, you're from this and you're black. Why don't you just sing with all? I was like, I don't want to all the time. Like, sometimes I hear something else and that's what I really want to do because I really like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, why are you?
I'm just laughing because I tried to throw the word "ain't" at y'all today, and I got rejected.
You got So let it out. Let it out. Go ahead and say it. You got rejected.
This is your safe space.
It's a safe
they're like,
space.
Ain't.
No, you start going to your Texas.
Too much.
You went Texas on us in the songwriting
Southern
session.
gospel with that title, bro.
She gave me a sweet side eye, but she gave.
She was like, what did you say? There ain't no.
I don't remember now.
She said,
Y'all
There ain't
rebuked
nothing
me.
God can't do.
there ain't nothing God can't do. There ain't nothing God can't. Well, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that.
Wow,
but
you guys.
Mike said, how about we try There's Nothing
there's
God
nothing
Can't
God.
Do.
But here's what's fire. Okay, so we were in this session. Now you got the mic. So we're doing this session where I didn't realize this at the time. We got 2 second-generation Ghanaians, right?
Basically, my dad's Ghanaian, yeah.
And Michelle
Yeah, my mom's Ghanaian.
is mom's Ghanaian. So here's what's happening. We're in a songwriting session. But I wasn't trying. So I had this idea.
Oh, God.
I had an idea. This is what creativity does. This is a great picture of what creativity does. I had this idea of this song. I can't sing it because I don't know if it's right or wrong for me to sing a song that I'm writing on the
You remember
podcast.
it? You remember it? We got a lot of music today.
We do have a lot of music.
But that pre-chorus is fire, though.
No, that's crazy.
fire.
It's so good. So we're in there writing this song, and what was it again? Because I almost need to remember.
I think what we landed on was Take Your Place.
Yeah. So I was writing. I had this song idea in my phone, and it was super R&B. But I knew that's not what it
Bro,
should.
you said Aaliyah.
I did say it was. I said it. I did say it's got an Aaliyah vibe.
Aaliyah rock the boat. I
Wait a minute.
gotta put you on
I said
blast.
I wasn't calling no name. All right, listen. I heard it. Listen. I heard it in the store. I heard it at Walmart. I heard it at school. I heard it outside. Somebody was driving by. I heard it and my neighbor was playing
Sorry,
it.
I had to put you on blast there. I'm sorry.
So I had this idea, and I was saying, "Take your place." In my head, that's how I heard it.
That was the groove you heard.
That was the groove I heard. But I knew this ain't the right groove for this word. So I throw this song. It goes from an R&B groove.
I had nothing to do with this part. Yeah.
And hold on, we're trying to navigate our way. Crystal is what kind of you sing like a country style?
That was like Southern gospel.
He called me coffee
Americana.
earlier. He said
Americana. So Crystal sounds like it's American. I call it Americano.
Americano.
So she's got her vibe right, and Crystal's a dope writer, right? We've
Absolutely dope.
written some great songs together. So He Is Lord, if you want to know, He Is Lord on the Overflow record. That's Crystal in LA. So then, but I got these two Ghanaians, second generation, in the room, but I'm not even thinking about that. And he keeps pulling the song to this African vibe. She's like,
I was like blow the trumpet in Zion. Like,
she was trying to figure out
Like, I was like, that's Jewish, man.
she was like trying to figure out what the cadence should be, and she was doing like the hambo or something. Hambo.
and they're like, no.
But check this out.
As long as you clap on one of the three, you're good.
Listen, no, but somebody's about to get set free with this one.
Come on,
Somebody's
Mike.
about to
Come
get
on.
set
Come
free.
on.
Somebody's about to get set free. So Crystal is there having fun, trying to figure out what is this rhythm and what is this cadence. But she's every turn she's like, I love that. She loves it. She's loving it, and we're all writing. And then we get into some things, and it turns out the whole African motif of this is real. And the song goes straight up worship African style. And now I'm starting to feel like this is crazy. And it comes together. It's beautiful. Here's what set me free. For one,
It's good.
isn't it amazing how God put two second-generation Ghanaians in the room, and they didn't even know it? And what came out creatively
Yeah.
was authentic to where they come from. I don't know if I'm from Ghana or not. I need to do my 23andMe. I don't know. We need to go back. We are
Completely.
Afro. I'm Afro-American. I'm African-American. So here's the thing.
So many references.
But here's what's, let me tell you,
They
Chris.
stuck me in a room with all of them.
And now Crystal's in the room. She's like, she's finding her way. But let me tell you something about Crystal. Let me tell you why this set me free. And I'm gonna try to do this without getting emotional. I don't think it's possible. As a black man, for years, who God's called me to navigate the biracial, multicultural spaces, typically what that means for me is I'm one of the only black people in the room. I cannot tell you which is how I identify what you're saying. I'm not offended with being in a room, writing a song that doesn't sound like anything that I came from. Because creatively, I loved it. I learned to navigate it.
Yeah.
I learned to fuse what I was born with and what I was given with what someone else naturally was given, and almost create a whole new baby, like a mixed child.
And I think it was so joyful to watch. I was sitting by Michelle. I want you to keep the microphone.
We got to hear you.
But I was watching her and just her body language and the way she was entering in and the way she felt that, it brought me so much joy to watch her and just watch her expressing herself, that it made me emotional. I started videoing her and I was like, wow, she is in.
Yeah.
Like, and because she's in and I'm in, like I'm in and getting to experience God through her eyes and getting to see her worship right now. It was beautiful. It was. I was videoing you a lot.
But that is the beautiful thing about what happens in the songwriting room,
Yeah.
where we fought to get here.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you all the, I won't say craziness, but things that have gone on. And it's not even the end of the world, but like, it's like you come into a day like this to write with your friends, and it seems like anything that can just put you off kilter. So I don't really have my balance.
Yeah.
you know, every write today finished a full song. But I feel like the whole day I was walking on the sides of my heels emotionally, trying to force myself into the room. And honestly, creativity has a way of bringing everybody from whatever place you were coming from into a unified space and created a sound. Honestly, I did not think that song would come out like that. But when we were done with that song, it was so powerful. But this is what I love about this. This is what I feel like what we do has a chance to accomplish. We have the ability where some people, they take on the idea of the American context of racism and division, which is really division is the enemy's job.
Yeah.
By any ism.
Yeah. Any label.
It doesn't matter what that label is.
Yeah.
It's the enemy's job to separate us, to divide us. What we have the opportunity to do, which is we see it happening over the last maybe 5 years more than we ever have, to see music bring churches into the same space and to bring people together. And while CNN is reporting something, Fox News is reporting something, my reality doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. Because you're doing the work of, like you said earlier, relationship, which brings solidarity. You can have conversations even when you don't agree on the same things, maybe political or whatever, racial tensions or whatever, but rooted in relationship, intimacy. Like, that's what we're doing in these rights. You're practicing how to relate to people that don't look like you, that don't think like you, that have a different context and culture, and you learn from it, you grow from it, and you're better for it. You're more creative for it.
Yeah.
So we got to do that work, take it back to our churches, you know, and see that. That's the hard thing, like, because everybody mostly, like, we grew up in the multicultural space together, Mike, but I think for the most part, people are comfortable on Sunday morning being in a space where everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
And it's great that we're writing songs that are going to help break that up, you know, and help them experience.
We can't just let our Christian experience be defined by the local community
on Sunday morning
that we worship with on Sundays.
That's right. You got to do the work outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, like to see what is God doing.
Yeah.
In my city. Okay, yeah, you want to go over to Africa, you want to go to Asia, you could. What about going about 30, 45 minutes from where you live and making a friend with somebody in your city? That's going to take work. But what else are you going to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Like, how is God going, if we all ask God for revival, how in the world do we expect God to do it?
That's right.
If we're not going to at least inconvenience ourselves to be around other people in our own city.
Why are we acting shocked and surprised when revival comes and God brings it and it is painful and inconvenient?
Yeah.
Why are we acting surprised? I believe that we think revival is going to look like something. And I believe that God never does something the same way over and over again. He is a God who brings about new things.
That's good.
He is doing a new thing. And so revival is going to look beautiful and new. And I also believe, like, whenever we're writing, it's creating that unity and that it is that agape love. When we're writing, I genuinely like you. Like, I like y'all. And so then we write a song, and then there's that agape love that is created. And so then when you hurt, I hurt. Yeah. Why? Because I have that agape love for you. So if you hurt, I hurt. If she hurts, I hurt. And so we walk in relationship and love, that Christ-like brotherly and sister. We are all children of God. Yeah. Brotherly and sisterly love that is created as we create together. But
that's the real work I'm referring to, though. That the solidarity, because if you don't have that piece, like, it's just for optics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's multicultural for optics' sake. It's just, you know, we got mix people on the stage. But do you have relationship? Can you eat a meal together?
Right.
And can you talk about the thing that you don't agree about and still walk away and love each other?
And we have
You
these
know what I'm saying?
conversations throughout the day. This is
Yeah.
not, we just putting the camera in front of this group now, but these are the conversations that happen organically throughout the day. I want to make space for you. You had something you want to share?
Yeah, I love that. And it just all talks about, the authenticity of this group. I love it so much because I've been in situations where we were all believers and we came together, but there was this spirit of be good, but not better than me. Mm-hmm. So nobody could really grow their roots deep in relationship. Nobody could really support one another wholeheartedly. Friendships couldn't really be birthed in a healthy way. And it was like that a lot in the community that I was used to for many years.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly toxic. But when you get used to it, you start to believe that that's just the way it is because they're fellow believers.
Yeah.
So you think this is the way it is. We're just, we're insecure, we get our things, but we still love Jesus, so we try. But when you get into a setting where people like genuinely love each other and they want to spend time with you, then it's just the most beautiful thing that happens. It's just the music is different.
Yeah, it is.
What comes out of that is so much more pure. And so this has been incredibly refreshing to me to be able to be amongst these beautiful people. I don't feel any competitive foolishness. I don't feel any of that silliness. I just feel people saying, hey, let's create together. Let me appreciate you, you appreciate me, we celebrate each other, and let's create songs that are gonna help the kingdom forward. I just love that so much, so.
Man, that is so good. And there are two more things I want to try to cover. Like, when we go back to our churches, our music may not radically change, but it could radically change over time if we're radically changed internally. We are the leaders in those communities, and we're tasked to lead people in worship. And I don't think that means leading people in songs. It means leading people to see God, experience Him. And He's not doing that without what He's doing in me. So I become a sort of lens, how God is maturing me, what I'm being exposed to, right? Creatively, musically, what's happening here. I cannot go back to my church without that experience, without that perspective. So what that does is it impacts how I see people. It doesn't just impact what I do on a platform. It should impact the conversations I'm having. It should impact how intentional I am about being as united within my own congregation as I possibly can to bring in people that sometimes are on the fringes. And they're in our congregation just sitting on the fringes watching it, feeling like, this is really nice. It's like, no, you come on the inner circle. And I'm going to create circles in my church that look like the circles in my personal life. If the circles in my life don't have any type of diversity in them, I'm not going to be inclined to create them anywhere.
That's good, Mike.
You know what I mean? It's like, so that is what we get to take back, and you can't shake it when you leave it because creativity gets in you.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you can create diversity on a platform. You can pay for that. Like churches will contract that. Where you see the church reflect the kingdom of heaven is like legitimately when people are in community with one another.
Yeah.
When they're like actually doing life with each other, breaking bread at in each other's homes with one another, and like learning. Yeah. And like that's that space. And to your point, Michelle, about competition and just like it's just so much easier to look at any of these churches that take any of these songs and say, if your church wins, then my church wins because the church wins. Like it's just like as simple as that. And it's, for some reason, it's hard for us to grow past that mentality, but it's a healthy thing that you love to see.
I would say too, like if you want to be a leader, take cues from Jesus. And I love what Jesus said to his disciples. He left them with this. He said, greater things will you do than I will do. And if you really want to lead people, then you have to be able to look at somebody else and say, hey, I want you to shine. I want you
that's good.
to shine, and I will do anything that I can to see you shine. And Jesus is the ultimate example of that. And I think when we're not just as we lead like that, but if we be friends like that, and I think that's what you sense. But just wanting to see the person next to us win and succeed is just, I feel that's God's heart.
Yeah.
His heart. He wants to see us win. He wants to see us succeed so much that he paid every debt that we owed so we could be free.
Good. That's so good.
Yeah, and I just want to say this because I'm sure there may be somebody watching and they have found themselves in this conversation, because I'm sure we've all found ourselves in some form of this conversation and not really know how to take some practical steps to actually figure out how to be a people together, united, unity in the midst of diversity. Our church is very different in the regard of diversity. We have a very diverse church. We have service probably 7 nights a week. We have a Korean service. We have a Portuguese service. We have a Brazilian service. We have a Quiche, Guatemalan, Romani.
Yeah, Hebrew service.
Jewish Messianic
Jewish, yeah.
Saturday. Yeah, and so when you pull into Freedom Church in Carrollton, shameless plug, there's on our sign, you see Freedom Church, and then you see all these different flags represented, different countries.
That's incredible.
And so if you want this, you have to show your community you want this. Like you have to find a way to tell the world, like, we're passionate about this. Literally tonight we have a joint worship service, so it's in English and it's in Spanish, and our Brazilian pastors get up, and so it takes a little more time because there's multi-language things that happen. But you got to show your community, we want this, we care about this, and we value, and then it reflects in the congregation because you have Indians and Asians and black and white and brown and everybody in between. And so just like a practical encouragement to do something rather than nothing, rather than, getting in the rooms and just constantly talking about it. Find a way to let the community know we value this and we're passionate about that. And then on the flip side, I was just really encouraged about the song that you all were just talking about because truth be told, I'm not going to call any names, mainstream music or bands or whatever, but...
Be brave, say it.
No, I would... No. Where we pick our songs from, it'd be great to have a diversity because I have people in my congregation. I have a beautiful family from Tanzania, and I need different songs.
We got you.
I can't sing the same.
This was
four on the floor, right, and stuff like we need that.
And I'm gonna tell you, this is one of the things when we came into that writing session. I was thinking, we were like, hey, what kind of rhythm, up-tempo rhythm is like? I don't want to do the same thing everyone's doing. Like, let's find another rhythm. Like this, there are more rhythms than. Okay, I got you. There's got to be another way to creatively.
I was still able to find that one.
Yeah.
No.
It still worked though. Yeah, it worked on top.
But
of
it was like, but we had to kind of work because what you end up doing sometimes because it's not noise, but you can be so inundated and surrounded with the same thing that you're intuitively recreating the same thing in different versions of the same thing.
That's right.
And at some point, someone has to say, stop. Yeah. Be a disruptor creatively to say, do something else. Yeah. And make yourself sing a new song. Yeah. Like literally, make yourself sing a new rhythm, a new melody, a new thing. And here's what I want to say, that we've learned to be open. You're definitely going to get, and every time we come together, we're going to get a lot of worship songs, very intimate songs. But it's always fun to see what that special song is going to be. We wrote the last song that we wrote the last time. Everybody can talk to Jesus. Anybody can come to Him. If you're broken or feeling weary, your burdens and come to Him. Oh, come on and talk to Jesus. Oh, so have a little talk with Jesus.
We're doing the whole song.
And love and breaking down the line. Don't you know the door is open? And he's waiting on the other side. Have a little talk with Jesus. Lord was bringing down the light.
Sing, Mike.
Don't you know the door is open? And he's waiting on the other side. Hey, good talking to you. Listen, I got in my feelings and I just started doing all the runs I knew. But I didn't expect that I was going to get to do that. And I'm one of the ones that organized the right. I didn't think that was going to happen. And so it was like, what do we do with the new sounds we get? And me and Ethan just like, hey, let's record it.
Yeah.
And what do you can't do nothing with what you don't record.
Help the people, Mike.
You can't do nothing with a song you won't record.
Come on.
No, I know.
Ain't nothing.
I'm so convicted
Ain't nothing
by that.
happened.
Ain't nothing you can do.
So think of this. Think of this from a creative standpoint. If you always try to edit yourself before you actually release what's in you,
That's good, Mike.
you'll never know the depth and you don't know what God's placed inside of you until you let it out of you. And then to put ourselves in a room with people that's pulling something out of you that you didn't even know was in there. Like, who was in that room? It was Ethan, me, Nikki, Caleb. Megan, were you there?
Yeah.
Megan.
Yeah.
5 of us in the room.
5.
Singing. Like, I don't understand what this is so infectious. Yeah. And it's the same room where we're writing, King on the Throne, which is incredibly beautiful on the other side of the spectrum. Out of the same house. Same people. Same rooms. Same spaces. I just think that the creativity that God has given us, it's such an instrument of him reflecting his glory and the diversity of what his beauty is through us. No wonder we don't look alike. Because we're all reflecting some part of the beauty of God, the glory of God, the image of God, image bearers of God. And how can we be the image bearers of God and all do look and be the same? Just can't happen. Can't happen. So listen, this is kind of turning into a very fun time. I want to keep on going, but I know it's getting late, and I want to try to end this podcast. But I want to just kind of stop and maybe just inspire you guys by what you're seeing. If you're thinking about, hey, how can I, create something like this for me? Or maybe you identify with the isolation you've been feeling, or maybe it is you've been feeling like you've been stuck in a creative box. Here's a little tip: you probably gonna need somebody else to bring you out your box. It's not that you don't have more in you. It's hard to tap into more by yourself.
And they're probably not going to look like you either.
They're probably not going to look like you. So step one, what do you do when you want to get into a new space? I think you do something you've not done. I don't think it's rocket science.
Yeah.
It's as easy as this. Prioritize it and sacrifice for it. Go to a church service somewhere you've not been and look at the website. Make sure you look at the doctrine. Make sure you understand where you're going. Or it's our thing. I've got a friend. I'm going to start with a friend. I'm gonna call LA. Me and LA and Krista, we wrote together. Hey, you bring some of your friends. I'll bring some of my friends. And then we can all be friends. And you can kind of see what happens. And what we found is we all got the same kind of friends.
Yes.
No jerks in this house. No prideful folks. No weirdo coming in looking around and
All the same.
We're all weird,
You know
so
what
we
Sarah
don't.
was saying? He's like, everybody I'm meeting, I just want to be their friend. And
Yes.
it's like the people I don't know yet, when I meet them, I want to be their friend. And it's like, yeah, because y'all all brought the same person.
We brought the same
type of
people.
person.
That was Rico back here. This is the guy that ain't gonna say nothing.
No.
Why do you keep putting your head down? Be confident. He's like, they back here they're trying to fade in with the window. They're like, they can't see us. All right, I've got to stop. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank y'all for taking time to speak. LA?
I want to say something about that though. When
Yeah.
you were just talking about how to figure it out, how to put together, where to start. Like, you won't have all of the same kind of gift mixes and things that come to the table and people. And so you do need, I mean, some of the most incredible guys back there, they're behind the scenes and they're just chilling. But great anchors and supports and like
and it's not just musicians. We got sound guys, nail in the house. Like it's not just singers.
It's a whole thing. So trying to really make an even balanced spread of bringing everyone to the table with different skill sets and gift mixes, it just makes something beautiful that we couldn't do without everyone. So
I would be remiss. That's a church word.
That's good.
That you're not going to hear at the office. I would be remiss if I did not mention a little something about what putting writing rooms together looks like, at least what we're doing. I think this would be great. So in this DFW area, what we discovered was if you wanted to write music, right, go ahead. If you just go ahead, make noise on your way out. Knock a camera over, why don't you? Go ahead, knock it. Oh, please.
Life in the wild.
So here's what we discovered. If we want, what we were all doing is we were all leaving and going to Nashville and writing. So that's what we were all doing.
That's right.
It's like, you're writing music. Yeah, I'll see you next week. I'm going to Nashville. And Nashville, I love to write. I'm going to Nashville next month to write several times. But if I was like, man, if I'm going to write in my own city, who am I going to write with? And how's it going to happen? And we realized here, man, we got all the writers here. We got producers here. We have singers here. We have artists here. So we put them together and we create these writing rooms. And it's not like sometimes you could think kind of monolithic. I'm going to bring my favorite singers together and we're going to write, but think differently. Yeah. Sometimes some of the best writers aren't always the front singers.
That's right.
Sometimes they're great lyricists. And sometimes with your vocal ability, you have the ability to maybe see a melody come together, and maybe you're a decent lyricist. And someone else, their melodies are okay, they're pretty good. That's not they have so many ideas lyrically though. They just like keep giving you ideas, and you kind of mesh these things together. And you have people that's all through that spectrum all over. Some people have both. Some people have more of this, and some people have more of that. But then I think we've been intentional about having guys like Kevin in the room, who are producers. So while we're trying to come up with what we're going to sing, he starts to play a pattern of chords that's perfect for what we want to sing. So he will throw in a lyric, he will throw in a melody, but what he ends up doing a lot is giving you the music. And what he starts to do is create the composition along the way. So now you have this diversity in the room. So now you got one person thinking about the composition and the production and the chord arrangements and all that. Someone else is thinking about melody lines and the experience of what these things are going to feel like. And somebody else is thinking about the best way to articulate and grammar and lyrics. Yeah. And all that stuff is happening in the same room. And so that's just a little snapshot of what we try to accomplish in these rooms. So that's why we got, different folks in the room doing different things.
But Mike hit the value of leaving the right with work tape.
Yes,
because that's the difference between people in Dallas, in our city, that aren't used to kind of like the Nashville culture, where it's like, when you leave, it sounds like a record.
A record.
You know what I'm saying? What's the value in that?
So the value is this. Really, what I think, while you have the inspiration in the room, do the work to really create the song. Like, the song is not just the lyrics and the melody, it's the arrangement. And then taking the time to represent that arrangement in a very clean, polished way. It's not a full production, what we're trying to do, but we're trying to really capture the song. So then if you want to go to that next level to where you're producing music and you're submitting songs, you got to be able to create songs that are presentable. You can take all the songs that we just wrote today. I can literally take them all and send them straight to Capitol and say, listen to these songs. And they sound right. Like, if you're going to work your song, don't hold the phone and slur the words through.
That's right.
Like, take the time and capture the piano. What's the BPM, the beats per minute? How fast, how slow? Because that's a part of writing a song. right? You get a nice piano, whatever, maybe a guitar. I mean, I've been in sessions where people go really far, especially in Nashville, where it's not a record, but they make it sound like a record because they have all these samples and sounds. They'll build drums and do all those things so you can get the vision and the picture of what the song can be. And what that does is it accelerates the song into production.
Yeah.
And it helps to move the song faster if you really want to do it. And what we end up doing sometimes is halfway writing a song.
Right.
You got a voice memo in your phone, and when you come back, you don't even remember what you were trying to say. Yeah. And if you mumble the word, you don't remember exactly why it came out that way. And if you're mumbling the word, you're practicing at half speed.
Yeah.
If you're practicing at half speed, you don't even know if what you said is going to really make sense with what's being played. So the way I say it is, if the song stands up in a demo, it's going to shine in production.
Yeah.
So get your song to stand all the way up.
Yeah.
Get the legs to lock. Get some muscle on those bones. Let it stand as a skeleton structure and be solid, and then you can dress it, and then it just gets better and better. So that's just it's a discipline.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, and it's also thinking more of what your creativity has the potential for. Don't just write for yourself or the people around you, man. You don't know where God wants to take that song.
That's right.
So put some more effort into it and really, really be intentional with it. So that's what we do here. That's what we do here. Thank you. That's a great point. Great point. Well, it's late. We're done. We through. But Life in the Wild podcast, I just want to just give you guys a little bit of flavor of what it's like for me and my friends to get together and write music, and how we're all like in real time walking out this journey as creative people in different spaces. So you can follow folks. You might see them. We'll share. We'll do some collabs on social media and all that kind of stuff. And you get to see what we're all doing. And I can't wait for y'all to hear us sing, yeah, everybody.
Hey.
Get talk to Jesus. Yeah. I can't wait for that. This is going to be crazy. So listen, Life in the Wild podcast, like, share, subscribe. Take a moment, send it to somebody. Make sure that you share this moment, because there were some liberating moments in this. Something for a little bit of everybody. If you're from Ghana, something for you. Something from America. If you're from St. Louis like me, something in this podcast for you. We want us all to experience the same unity we're experiencing. We want to give you some of that. So take some for yourself. God bless you. Peace.